Namaste, beautiful people. Natasha Anand here, and I'm really excited to bring you a transmission, the final transmission for the theme that Roop and I have been focusing on over the last 2 weeks. So the theme has been creating the new way. Now, I want to kind of sort of switch it up a little bit and talk about conscious community engagement. So it's a little bit different to some of the other topics that I've been speaking about within this theme. And I guess there's a concern. There's a part of me that holds a concern about where we're headed into the future in terms of our right to participate in the social, economic, political processes of our nations, the right of freedom of speech, and the right to be considered in plans and policies that are being created out there in the world that are impacting on us as individuals, as families, as communities. And this part of me that's concerned that these rights are being taken away from us or stripped away from us or denied of us as we move into a new space where rules are seemingly having to be created because we are in an intense global pandemic situation. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background context to this. So here in the UK, we have something which is called community engagement. And this term recognizes the importance of engaging with a community when considering making any decisions, any policy decisions that are going to impact on that local community. What would happen is the local council, local services, local organizations, local charities would come together with community members and would speak, would engage with each other. And this would be an opportunity for those people in the positions that are creating the policies to take into consideration the needs, the ideas, the thoughts, the experiences of the very people that are living and working, experiencing in that community. So the policymakers would go away and they would utilize that intelligence at a local level to then create their policies. So there was, in my time working in the community and voluntary sector as a youth and community worker, there was something that I would see that would really alarm, disturb, concern me. And that would be that, generally speaking, community engagement was an afterthought. So a culture had emerged within the public service delivery space, whereby we would find big decisions being made that were impacting our community where the community hadn't been consulted properly. So we're talking about money being pumped in to create new housing. We're talking about new establishments coming in and creating new programs, maybe initiatives to do with higher education. And it's not just the responsibility of the public sector to do this. It's also seen as the responsibility of any organization that's coming into a new space that is creating a community benefit. So any social enterprise, any charity coming into that space, creating a service, it is expected that this community engagement takes place. From that community engagement, we're also able to create a community engagement strategy. And the community engagement strategy is how that organization or group of organizations will make sure that they are reaching and engaging with parts of the community that might be traditionally harder to hear, or more challenging to find, or more challenging to engage with for whatever reason. Okay, so we might find that people who are marginalized within a community, we might find that single mothers, people from a minority background, people who are abled differently, those are examples of types of groups that might be harder for us to reach. Okay, so when we start to engage with the community as a social enterprise, as a charity, as a public sector organization, even as a private business, we identify what the different groups in the community, start to identify what some of their needs are. We identify those that are a bit harder to hear, a bit harder to reach, and we create a strategy that enables us to actually go out there and meet and reach the people that we're meant to, so that we can collect that intellect, and so that what we create, the organization, the project, the initiative that we create, is taking into consideration everybody's needs and everybody's experiences. Now, in the past, I saw that this was often an afterthought, that what I've just described was like a principle and a value, and this is what we would like to be able to do in the community. This is the gold standard of a community engagement. But what we would see is organizations coming in with an agenda. So we're going to create this, and actually we're not going to engage with people on whether this is needed or not. We've already come up with the solution. We've already thought about what we think is best. And actually speaking to the community, finding out your experiences, finding out what's happened in the past, what works, what haven't worked, that's been an afterthought. It's kind of like, we're going to do it now so that, you know, because we have to, and you know, we may incorporate some of those changes, but actually for community engagement to be meaningful, it's got to have this, what I call a stage zero approach. And I've spoken about this in my other YouTube videos. So the stage zero approach is that you kind of cleanse and purify your own agenda, and you come into this community space with a willingness to want to listen and learn and know from the people that live in that area what they feel, what their needs are, what their experiences have been before the finalized plan is created. So you may know, I want to come and deliver services that are of benefit. It's going to be in a particular area. Yet I know that there's a lot of intelligence from the local community that I've got to cleave to be able to fully design my service, to be able to fully design my initiative. That for me is a cleaner, more appropriate way of doing community engagement and developing a community engagement strategy that actually meaningfully considers the intelligence, the views, and the needs of people as a part of our agenda, rather than it just being an afterthought because it's something that we have to do, and oh, we forgot to do it, let's do it now. But then actually we're not going to fully be able to incorporate those ideas because we've already fully formed our plan and our idea, we've invested and all that kind of stuff. So we're coming from a culture of just quickly hodgepodging our community engagement together in the community, and this becoming something that's just seen as standard and seen as acceptable now because it's just been happening for so long. And we're moving now into a space where, because of the intense economic, socioeconomic circumstances right now on the planet, and then impact on our individual countries. If I can speak about the UK, I have parts of me that are concerned that we are moving into a space whereby decisions are going to be made for us without fully considering our needs, our experiences, and our intelligence. So decisions about all sorts of things to do with the kinds of medications we should be taking, decisions about how law should be enforced, the places we can and cannot go to, the people we can and cannot interact with. All of these sorts of things have been imposed on us because of the situation we're in. And now as we move into a new space where this sort of starts to get relaxed, my question is, to what extent are some of these attitudes and some of these mechanisms and some of these frameworks and ways of imposing the will of others, or the will of institutions, the will of authorities, in what ways are those now going to just be commonplace in our society? So this is concerning for me because I want to be able to have a say in my community and in my country. I want to be able to have a say about what medications, what vaccinations, what policies and what initiatives the government's coming up with I want to be able to have a say. I want to be part of the consultation of that. So often there's an online consultation or in-person consultation or processes you can go through with your MP where you can talk about the things that Parliament are going to be debating on, the new rules and laws that are going to be coming into place. Often we have the opportunity to do that, but I haven't seen any petitions. I haven't seen any consultations on any of the new policies coming into place. I haven't seen any consultations on any of the new acts of law that make it illegal to travel or to move about or to be with people. And I get that we haven't had time and this has had to be rushed in. But my question still remains, to what degree are these measures going to remain now in this space? And something that I encourage people to be vigilant about is that as we start to go back into a more relaxed, natural way of being, sort of going back to normal, is for us to be approaching the people in power, our local MPs, our local councillors, community champions, how are we going to be going back, and how are we going to be going back into this space of being able to engage with the public authorities on these measures, okay, and be able to have our say in how all of this is impacting the communities, impacting our community. I'm interested to know at the moment, how much social interaction, social connection in my community has been impacted because of quarantine and because of lockdown. Has that sent us back 5, 10, 15 years? I know particularly in my community in Old Trafford, a lot of work has been done over the last 20 years to improve community cohesion, to get people talking, to get cultures mixing, and to improve the relationships between people and the authorities and the council and police and all that kind of thing. How much of that's been unravelled? And are we going to go back to engaging and connecting with each other on the level of the community and being able to influence how our community is created, how our schools are created, all the initiatives that are going to be happening locally? Are we going to be able to have influence in that in the same way that we did before, and even better? And I encourage you all to start to think of ways that you can interact and you can engage with your community now that we're going to start to open this up, and make an effort to put yourselves forward in your community to support local initiatives, to get involved in your local strategic partnerships, ring up your council, find out how can you be involved in decisions that are made in your community, in your areas, so that we can reignite these relationships, we can reignite community engagement in a really healthy way. Because what I'm concerned about is that we're just going to forget about all this incredible community engagement work that we have done over the years, and we're just going to allow all these rules and these new ways of being to be imposed onto us without even recognizing that actually it's important that our views and our experiences and our intelligence is taken into consideration when the new rules and the new guidelines are actually put into place in terms of the sort of longer term guidelines that we're going to be living by for the next few years. So I hope that's made sense and resonated with those of you that are interested in working in the community, or that already work in the community, or in some way have a social enterprise or a business or a therapeutic work where you are in touch with the community. I hope this has helped to open your eyes a little bit about how we can create the new way for all sentient beings on planet Earth, and how we can maintain this level of involvement that we really deserve as our God-given right, and creates the meaningful world that we live in. When we are all able to participate and influence it, it becomes a manifestation of our creation, and that's how we will create the new way. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning into this transmission. Namaste.